Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome to Hangar Flying. Tonight we welcome back Brian Heaslet. Brian was on last time. Brian works for LifeMed, he's safety manager there, and has an undergraduate degree in aeronautical science and a master's degree in basically aviation or safety science. So he's well qualified to do the job he's been hired to do. And it's good to be able to talk to him about some of the elements of their safety program. Brian, welcome back.
Thanks, great to be back.
So we talked a little bit about risk assessment last time, and one of the questions I didn't get a chance to ask you, when your crews are filling out or completing this risk assessment, is it based on a numerical score, or is it just subjective?
It is a numerical score. For the flight and actually our ground portion as well, it's all a numerical score. Running through the work environment that they're headed to, the various conditions of runways, lighting, things like that, experience. Based on the value that they get, there may be absolutely nothing wrong according to the risk matrix. Other times there will be high values, and those values won't necessarily mean that the transport cannot happen, but that another opinion needs to come in, usually the administrator on call or another supervisor of some sort.
Okay. And one of the things you mentioned, but I would like you to mention it again, because I think it must be a very important part of your risk mitigation, and that is the isolation of the patient's condition from the flight crew or the pilot.
Yeah, and it's fairly standard throughout our industry to keep the pilots from that information when the call first comes in. It ensures that the go or no-go decision is completely based on elements that are directly related to flying, and we like to have our pilots focused on that aspect of the operation, and we don't want them to get too involved emotionally with that decision.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess, knowing how often accidents and mishaps lead to changes in policy, I'm guessing that's probably a result of one or more accidents where that didn't happen and people learned the lesson.
Yes, definitely.
Hey, another thing I really appreciated when you and I are talking is it sounds like you have a pretty robust debriefing program. You'll talk about that?
Certainly. We have a debrief process that is followed after every single flight. We use it to capture anything that has happened, good, bad, or ugly, on the transport that has just happened. Usually there's nothing to discuss, and so there will be a form that's distributed and everyone signs off and doesn't write anything, and that's just fine. If everyone believes that the transport's happened as it was planned and nothing came up unexpectedly, then that's a good thing. There are times where the form will be distributed and people write down comments on mitigations that could have happened before a flight, and that type of information is very valuable to us. We take those and try to implement those suggestions as best we can into future transports to ensure that they'll be improved.
Okay. You know, I want to go back to something because it just occurred to me that I made an inference that I didn't intend to. When I said the policy came from an accident, I certainly didn't mean your company.
Thank you.
I mean from the industry.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't your company, but I wanted to make that clear so our audience didn't misinterpret that. So one of the questions I always ask my guests is, and you're a pilot, experienced pilot, You're a safety person. You're dedicated to aviation safety. What one thing do you think would help improve aviation safety in Alaska?
Collectively, it's all communication. As you did mention, I do have some flying experience myself. I do, aviation safety is my job, but I can't do it alone. It's all about communication. So if anyone is going flying, especially in Alaska, as diverse and versatile as the environment is up here, if you're going somewhere that you have not been before, definitely get a hold of someone that you know knows the area, knows the weather, knows how quickly things can change. That's the most valuable information that you're going to get, and it's going to take everyone, again, communicating with one another, talking to each other, sharing those stories. Those stories become very valuable.
Well, you know, Brian, that's such a worthwhile suggestion, and I've heard it before on this program. And one of the things that people should keep in mind, although sometimes people don't recognize this, that I don't think I've ever run into a pilot that wouldn't share the information that you're talking about. You just got to ask them,
Yeah.
and that could certainly prevent a lot of problems. And so thank you for that suggestion. I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing and your dedication to aviation safety, and I appreciate you being on the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program, and until next time, fly safe.